Tonight on the Your Life Matters Show podcast.
Coping tool everyone should try this season.
So this, I can't give a one-word answer, but here's what I would say. One of the coolest things that one of my professors taught me, years back was, she said, think of all the things you have to do. So I have to do this, I have to get that, I have to go there. She said, and change those to I get to. And what she was saying was it really shifts the focus. It shifts the narrative or the context around what's going on, where, it's like, man, I have to pay bills. I have to do this. It's like, no, you know what? I get to pay bills. What a great problem to have. I get to pay bills. Cool. It really, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to back.
I'm just listening to that. That's going to be the clip. Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you made the choice to watch our show this evening and joining us for another episode of the Your Life Matters Show podcast with your hosts Steve Hodgson and Dr. Eric L. Davis.
Tonight's episode is titled, I Can't Take It: How to Cope with the Stress of the Holidays. The holiday season brings joy, but it also can bring a tremendous amount of pressure. For millions of people, December brings more stress than peace. Expectations rise, emotions intensify, bank accounts tighten, and the pressure to be happy grows louder. For others, the season is a reminder of loss, loneliness, or what used to be. For some, being apart from their family, alone in a dangerous place, can be stressful. An estimated 200,000 U.S. service members will be deployed overseas. A large number of service members are also separated from their families even when stationed in the United States, due to the need to live apart for educational or career reasons. Some estimates suggest that as many as 450,000 Department of Defense personnel are stationed overseas, including both permanently stationed personnel and temporarily deployed personnel. You can only imagine the stress on all parties when they cannot be with their loved ones. 89% of U.S. adults report feeling stressed during the holiday season. 41% say their stress levels are higher than at other times of the year. 30% say they get less sleep in that period. One survey found 65% of respondents were stressed about holiday spending, and 73% said financial anxiety took away from their enjoyment. Among people already living with a mental health condition, 64% say their condition worsens around the holidays. But what if this year, you gave yourself permission to breathe? You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to feel. Your peace matters. Tonight, we're talking about a different kind of holiday season, one where your mental health matters more than perfection. A season where boundaries are healthy, emotions are valid, and joy isn't forced, it's found. Here are your hosts.
Well, howdy, everyone, and welcome to the Your Life Matters Show podcast, where every voice is seen, every story is valued, and where your life truly matters. I'm Steve Hodgson, and as always, I'm joined by Santa Claus of Mental Health, who each week slides down the YouTube chimney and presents us with all the gifts of his professional and knowledgeable insight. He's my co-host, Dr. Eric L. Davis. How you doing, Doctor?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Okay. I bet you never thought of yourself as sliding down a chimney.
No, but I like that. I like the sound of that. Might have to think about
it. I just want to see what gifts you're carrying in that big sack when you come down the chimney. Okay. So before we begin, let's take a moment and hear a special holiday message from our great sponsor, Waypost Counseling.
Let's face it, life can feel like too much at times. Stress, loss, big changes. They can leave us feeling lost. But taking the step to reach out for help, that takes real strength. That's why Waypost Counseling exists. Founded in 2020 by Dr. Eric L. Davis and licensed therapist Aaron Davis, Waypost Counseling was created to be more than a counseling office. It's a place where people are heard, supported, and given the tools to move forward. Waypost Counseling offers more than just therapy sessions. They provide individual and couples counseling, specialized help for problem gambling, and consulting services. Their team supports adults facing ADHD, grief, addiction, relationship struggles, and major transitions in life. The name Waypost captures their heart. It's a marker along the path, helping you see where you are and where you want to go. Therapy doesn't have to feel overwhelming. At Waypost Counseling, you'll find honesty, warmth, and practical solutions that create lasting change. Whether you're in Indiana or anywhere in the U.S., you can connect with them in person or online. Don't wait for the perfect moment. The first step is what matters. Visit waypostcounseling.com or call 317-762-0904 to connect with Dr. Eric Davis, or 317-659-0179 to reach Aaron Davis. Waypost Counseling is certified by the Indiana FSSA Division of Mental Health and Addiction and the Indiana Coalition Against Domestic Abuse. Remember, you know that your life matters, and right now your next step matters. Make the call today.
So let me begin by saying happy holidays to all our listeners. This week, we're turning our hearts and our focus onto a topic that nearly every one of us faces, and that's holiday stress. From travel logistics, family expectations, financial pressure, to the emotional weight of should do and supposed to do. This season that painted as joyful can be feeling anything but. Okay, did you know that close to 9 out of 10 adults say their stress levels rise during the holiday season? And many of them say it's higher than any other time of the year. Now, that's something worth talking about. So on tonight's episode, we're going to unlock why this time of year can spark so much tension, especially explore those who are most vulnerable, and most importantly, share practical, meaningful ways to cope. So if you could truly experience hope, connection, and peace this season. Now, whether you're surrounded by family, navigating the holiday season solo, or somewhere in between, this episode is for you. So grab a warm drink, maybe a hot cider or hot chocolate, okay, eggnog, okay, take a deep breath and join us as we dive into how to cope with the stress of the holidays. So, Dr. Davis, from a clinical perspective, why do so many people experience increased stress during the holiday season?
I think because it's organized stress, I mean,
They call that
obviously,
organized chaos, isn't that? That
yeah,
organized stress.
it's the same thing,
Yeah.
No, but really, I mean, I think that, we live in a very hectic society in the United States. And with the holidays, that's no exception. And it's kind of everything is it's planned rush, you know. So I mean, I think that has a lot to do with it, just because everyone is in a stressful time at the same exact time.
So, I mean, really, holiday stress, is it one main thing that causes it, or is it a stacked stress type effect? In other words, is it a bunch of things stacked together that causes that?
I think it's both. I mean, really, where um, some years there may be stress specifically tied to certain events or certain things that are planned, but um, they stress can be compounded and just think of, millions of pebbles eventually could be a mountain, so it does. And I mean, stress compounds upon itself and can be what we call complex stress.
We often hear phrases like the holiday blues or just seasonal depression. How do those differ from everyday stress?
So, for example, let's talk about like seasonal affective disorder, which is a real thing where when the seasons change, individuals find that that their affect in general is just more depressed, or they struggle more with that. That is more of a, like a biological response, really. Whereas things during the holidays, it's not, it's more us adapting, but it doesn't have anything to do with the weather or anything of that nature. I mean, a lot of the stress during the holidays can also be due to the weather, where, we don't typically deal with the same, adverse weather conditions on the 4th of July as we do Christmas, so a lot of
Well, they
travel
do here
stress.
in Florida.
Fair enough, fair enough. But not here in
Yeah.
Indianapolis.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's funny because the recording time right now, I mean, you guys have dealt with like 4 or 5 inches of snow,
Oh yeah.
okay, where it's like 85 degrees still out here in Florida, which is why I just said that. But so I did a lot of research for the show and on holiday stress, and a lot of it has to do with these perceived expectations, from family, culture, religion, even social media. So why does all that play such a big role in holiday anxiety?
I think it's kind of a twofold thing. So what I initially think of is a saying that I talk about with my clients a lot, which is the saying goes, expectations are pre-planned resentments. Which is kind of like, what? But I really do think that, the holidays are a perfect time to practice that, where um, people are people, and people are going to be who they're going to be. And sometimes we can set ourselves up for disappointment, or being resentful because we will expect things to be differently than they've either always been, or we'll expect things that aren't realistic. Um, you know, so I think that's a big part of it is the expectations that we place, and then the uncontrollability of those expectations and how things unfold.
And there's we probably put a lot of unreasonable expectations on ourselves. We think, and especially social media plays a big role in that. As we'll be talking coming up, I think next week's show about teen suicide. There's so much expectations that social media places because John gets one thing, everybody expects everybody
Yeah.
else to get that same thing. Um,
Yeah.
Actually, I was even reading in the news this morning, and basically will show you we're about a week or two behind here. Uh, but some influencer that was going to restaurants, these big restaurants. I don't know if you read that today, where she was finally arrested because she'd go to these big restaurants and fancy places and order all these meals and she'd record herself having all the stuff and then cut out on the check. Just wasn't paying the
Man.
check. And they finally caught up with her, but people see somebody living that life and they think, wow, why can't I live that? And I
Yeah.
think the same thing with expectations. I keep thinking of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation,
Yeah.
okay, where the Griswolds were trying to do that big meal and family coming over and saying, that to me is holiday stress.
Yeah.
If I could have run a clip from that and legally got away with it, I
Yeah.
probably would. Clark Griswold, I would have had a couple of great things on
I
it.
don't th
But
I don't think there has ever been a Christmas dinner where I didn't sit down and, at some point go, the blessing, like her uncle or whatever on Christmas
right.
Vacation. Um, Another thing though, with the holidays and expectations and all that is basically just planning ahead. If I'm going into it, let's say I'm going into a family situation and I know that I don't know, there's going to be some drama or something. If if I think ahead and just plan for that, a lot of times that can make all the difference in the world.
hmm
Just being prepared for what could happen.
I hear everybody say, no, no, we have a rule, no politics, no, but we all know we have that one relative, okay, it could be male or female, that's going to be sparked by something that's said that has absolutely nothing to do with politics
Yeah.
whatsoever, and will instantly put a spin on it, and it will begin. So, like you
Yeah.
said, if you're expecting that. The Uncle Joe is going to talk about this, Aunt Betty is going to talk about this. Be prepared for it. Like you say,
Yeah.
mentally prepare yourself in advance. But, it's funny, I was talking about the Christmas Vacation movie, and the one scene I thought of in my head which I knew we wouldn't have been able to use anyway, which was when he realized he didn't get the Christmas bonus.
Oh
And if you
yeah.
remember that string of words he
Yep.
puts together, okay, still stick in my head. Okay, but surveys show that 70% of adults feel financial stress
Mhm.
around the holidays.
Yeah.
Society's programmed us that we have to buy gifts for everyone,
Yeah.
whether or not we can afford it. I mean, credit card companies love us this time of year. I mean, it really does. We become convinced that kids will think we're cheap if we don't get them 7 or 8 different gifts. Now, I remember when I was a kid, probably one or two we got, and we were happy with the 1 or 2 gifts. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Bought some like cheap little things, on the side, but it was 1 or 2 gifts. Now, today they want a bicycle, they want an Xbox, and I
Yeah.
mean, really, and it's not even a regular bicycle now, it's an electric bike. So we could go into that one day too. But, what's happening psychologically when money and gifts collide, you know, what is this gift guilt that we're all experiencing?
Well, I think a big part of that has to do with it's human nature to try and judge our insides by everybody else's outsides. And we have to remember especially with social media, that we are seeing the presentation that has been crafted, for everyone's consumption. I mean,
Mhm.
um, the reality is no one's life is perfect. There's nobody walking around that has zero problems. I mean, um, but it's easy to do that, to look at social media and oh look, well their whole family gets along and well they don't seem to be having any financial, problems. Well, whatever it is, the reality is there probably are elements of those things. We just don't see them.
I think the Osbournes, the reality show that they did, showed that, okay, that not every family is just, that they were a normal family. And I think that's why, besides the fact that it was Ozzy, I think that's why that show was so popular because I think we all saw parts of our own lives in their
Yeah,
chaos. Where, like you said, usually, even these reality shows are scripted. Okay,
yeah,
they're told,
yeah.
when this happens, run over here and do this. And no, this is real life, what's going on. So, what are some practical ways people can get or even set emotional and financial boundaries without feeling selfish or ashamed?
I think that what we need to remember most importantly is that saying no is okay. Like I think everybody wants to say yes. Everybody, we all want everyone to like us or we want to make people happy. The problem is when we do that to our own detriment, consistently. Um, and that's when our lack of boundaries becomes the problem. There's nothing wrong with saying no. Um, and sometimes we just need to be okay doing that if it's going to put us out.
Find a fun way. I know every parent doesn't want to disappoint their child. Okay, they want to be that hero for their child.
Yeah.
But nothing says, this year, instead of going out and buying gifts, okay, we're going to make a gift or we're going to do something special. We're going to write down a list in private of something special that we can do for each person.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's going to be our gifts this year. And it's a lasting gift. It's not going to be a toy it's something that's going to last. You know what? Mom always gets on my butt about cleaning my room. So,
Yeah.
this year, every 2 weeks, I'm going to spend an hour and I'm going to clean my room out.
Yeah.
That will keep mom happy. With dad, I'll stop using his tools.
Yeah.
And I'll ask him permission first. For Sissy, I'll stop ripping the head off of her dolls. You know, I
Yeah.
mean something that it doesn't cost anything, but when you build it up into a big thing, children are really going to pay that much attention that they're not getting a physical financial gift. And you know what? If you do it properly, other kids are going to be envious and jealous.
Yeah.
And say, well, what did you get? No, we did something different this year. We did blah blah blah. People are gonna say, wow, we did do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know what? We're going to be happy all year.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about time pressure because event planning, traveling, shopping, they every one of us feels that holiday rush. So, why does that holiday rush make us feel so mentally exhausted?
I think it's just because it's emotional. It's a time crunch. It's, now, now, now. Um, and really in moments or in times like that, when we have to pay attention to numerous things, it's like everything's moving, things are constantly changing, just like during the holidays. Um, that can be really overwhelming and it wears us out. It mentally drains us. Um, and so I think that's probably the biggest part of it, in my opinion.
Now, I know a little earlier you talked about being mentally prepared for families getting together and politics or
Yeah.
bringing up old wounds and stuff. And you talked about preparing yourself. I wanted to ask you before, how did somebody go about doing that?
As far as preparing for the holidays,
Preparing for Aunt Susie's, rant about,
yeah.
Donald Trump. Good
Okay.
or bad.
So the way I would lay that out would be think about where you're going. So think about, all right, on the holidays, I'm going over here. Okay, who all's going to be there? What are the potential downfalls? Are there do you have an issue with somebody that's still kind of unresolved that's going to be awkward? Or um is there somebody that typically makes you angry during the holidays? Basically go through each of those things and think about them for a moment, and then the next question is, okay, if this happens, what can I do? And just have it, and typically the solutions are simple: walk away, you know um leave if you have to, but just being prepared for those things so that we're not you know um caught off guard.
So what about if, just a curiosity question, I was listening to that. Let's say Aunt Susie and Aunt Lucy don't, they're still having major disagreements over something.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it a wise move prior to the event of just like popping a note to them, not, and maybe even the host popping a note to the two of them saying, hey, this is coming up. Can we just leave that aside right now and
Yeah.
just let's have a good time as family?
Yeah. I think that's a good idea because it keeps everybody on the same page,
Hmm.
you know
And you're taking a pre-strike before the the
yeah.
event actually happens. Listen, we have, grandma over today and we want to make this special. So, you know, let's just not talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's just all get together, have a good time because grandma wants to see everybody together. And you could probably do that in probably a smart way when even talking about cell phones and everything else. Listen, we're going to get
Yeah.
together. It's going to be a really good time. We want everyone to have a ball, but we're going to put the phones away at dinner. And, we're not going to talk about politics or anything like that. We want to
Yeah.
talk about family and how families are getting along and stuff. It might help. And the person who gets highly offended by it and stuff, well, then it's better off that, well, then I'm not coming. It's better to have them not show up
Yeah.
than to come and ruin the event for everybody else, too. So
Yeah.
if they can't keep
Agreed.
up with it, that's fine. Yep. So, the holidays, and really, it's what it is. It's time spent with our loved ones. The thought's been imprinted on our brains from a very early age. Holiday marks the passage of time in our lives. They are part of the milestones we share with each other, and generally, they represent time spent with family. So how can anyone be expected to cope with them when a loved one has died, a husband, wife, mom, dad, or child? For so many people, this is the hardest part of grieving, when we missed our loved ones even more than usual. It's hard to celebrate togetherness when one is them is really missing. And trust me, holidays magnify that loss. The sadness deepens and the loneliness can feel isolating. The need for deep support may be the greatest during the holidays before I ask you the question I was going to ask you, I saw last night watching to YouTube, there's a Secret Santa thing that's shown. I guess it's some TV station in Oregon or so Utah or
Mhm.
something like that, where some multimillionaire gives money to Secret Santa to help people. And there was this farmer, it was an older gentleman who, he lost his wife like 2 or 3 years ago and really stopped celebrating Christmas. He has children and grandchildren and stepchildren, and two of the
Yeah.
children have passed. He helps his neighbor all the time. It's an elderly woman. He helps, mow and plow and stuff for her. And they went and brought him, some Secret Santa gifts, some shopping and everything else for him. And he needed a new stove, heating stove, the coal,
Yeah.
the wood pellet stove. And they set up, with a store they could buy like a $6,000 stove, and they'd come and install it and everything else for him. And I just watched that guy, and he was talking to him, and he goes, "I stopped celebrating when my wife passed away."
Yeah.
And understand, you say, you're pulling your dad or, your grandfather or something over. They're still grieving big time inside. Even though they're going to put on a smile because they're spending time with their children and grandchildren, they still miss the people.
Yeah.
Um, what do you say to those people? I mean, what's important for them to hear right now?
I think that, I think the most important thing for them to hear is that their feelings are valid. That it's okay. It's okay to struggle during the holidays. It's okay to miss somebody, or um, it's okay to have feelings. I mean, I think that's the most important thing is letting them know that, hey, we're here for you. Um, if you need to talk, we're here. If you're having feelings about things, that's okay. Like that is okay, and we're here to support you.
And it doesn't even have to be family. It could be a neighbor
Yeah.
or, anything like that. Reach out to people during this time of year because, there are a lot of people struggling. And, we talked, I think, about 988 already. Well, if we haven't, we're going to talk about it this episode. The
Yeah.
988 number. There are a lot of people that struggling during this time.
Mhm.
Maybe even people you don't even realize that are struggling. You know,
Yeah.
um, a teen may have lost his best friend, his or her best friend, and you don't even realize it because they haven't really said anything about it.
Mhm.
But they're still struggling because they're remembering what they used to do together around Christmas time. And, we need to be there and reach out to people. Pay attention to people because you know what? Instead of you are there enjoying the moment and living the moment, but
Mhm.
I think some of the best moments are when you really reach out to another person and that person opens up and talks. That's a memory you're never going to forget.
Yeah.
Even grandpa talking about grandma. What was your first Christmas like when you spent with grandma?
Yeah.
Do you remember? And have them reminisce and have them go back.
Mhm.
It may be a little sad. There's going to be some tears,
Yeah.
but it's a family moment that you're never going to
Yeah.
forget. So I want to talk about some coping strategies, maybe that we can set up.
Okay.
What are your top three clinically proving coping strategies? Boy, it sounds so official that people can use during the holidays, not just before, but even after the holidays.
I think so. One thing that we don't pay enough attention to is, like after the holidays, there's always kind of that, I don't want to say a letdown, but it's like there's this big excitement. There's lots of emotion. And, then after the holidays are over, it's kind of, things settle back down. And I think it's important to kind of plan ahead for that, that, hey, things aren't going to be as, fast and exciting, nonstop. So just to kind of prepare for that emotionally. Um, Let me see a couple of other things. Uh, One really important coping strategy is just looking at the context of everything. I think where, um, and what I mean by that is paying close attention to me, as far as how am I feeling today? What's going on with me? Am I at my best? Am I able to handle stress as well as yesterday, or better, worse? Um, just being aware of where I'm at emotionally and mentally and all that, I think is an important coping strategy as well.
Okay, I know we already talked before about saying no. That there's no sin in saying no during the holidays, and
Yeah.
and that comes to with I mean you're married, okay? So let's say you have Christmas parties. Okay, you have friends that are going to invite you to
Mhm.
Christmas parties, families are going to invite you to Christmas parties, sometimes even companies that you work with, at Waypost, that you
Yeah.
work alongside, they're going to invite you to their Christmas party. You, it's okay sometimes to say no.
Yeah.
You don't have to be at every single event.
Yeah.
Uh, I know it's tough. You want to, every one of your friends you want to, you know, be with and enjoy the time with, but I always say this because, Jen and I, previous marriages, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So it's like, the kids sometimes on holidays, they have to be, at their fathers and and their mothers. And then they have to be at the other respective side. It's so difficult for children to decide where to be, and let's not make it more stressful. With Jen and I, we always said, okay, you know, the kids could get together with you on Thanksgiving. They get together with us Christmas and Christmas Eve with us, and then flip it the following year and stuff. So
Yeah.
that this way nobody felt left out. There was no stress. I mean, I remember the one time when my son-in-law was sitting there telling me, and he says, I ate well here. He said, but now think about it. I got two more places I got to go to.
Yeah.
Because, his, his parents were, and her parents were, so it was four households they had to go to for Thanksgiving. He's like, how much can I eat in one day?
Yeah.
Especially when you eat turkey and stuff on Thanksgiving, it's really like tough. So, set some of that stuff up. It's okay to say no. It's okay to make plans. Say, listen, you know what? I got seven other parties I got to go to this year.
Yeah.
Okay, but next year you're on the seven that I'm going to, and those people are on the seven I can't go to. It's wish you were there, but really couldn't. So talk about realistic joy or forced cheerfulness, and why it's okay that the holidays don't always feel magical.
I think a lot of times it's expectations there again, where I know for me, one of my favorite things to do is to watch like feel good holiday movies. I mean,
Mhm.
it's nice to watch things and be happy, but we have to remember that holidays are not perfect. Maybe they are in the movies. A lot of the fun is they're not in the movies, which is always entertaining. But um, we have to understand that every holiday is different, and everybody's different. And the beauty of the holiday is it's our holiday. Like the beauty
Mhm.
of getting to have Christmas is, hey, I get to have Christmas as me. Cool. I'm the only person on earth that gets to do that.
Mhm. And I talk about it. There's a little segment that will be coming up that will be mixed into this with, holiday ideas to make it a little stressful. One of the things I had talked about, and there was even what Jen and I always did was certain holidays, we took the stress completely out of it. We ordered the meal.
Yeah.
I mean, we would have like you talked about 4th of July and stuff. Instead of spending, 6 hours over a barbecue, we would go and buy, a box of, chicken already pre-made and stuff
Yeah.
from one of the supermarkets, and you buy a bunch of sides and everything else, and you know what? You put it out and you laid it all out, and you get to be in the moment.
Yeah.
Okay. And because, like I said later on, and I'm going to say it 2 or 3 times during this show. People are coming to your house for the holidays, not for your food.
Right.
They're coming for you.
Right.
Okay, so you don't necessarily, they're not coming as, Emerald Lagasse, coming and raiding your cooking or
Right.
something like that. They're coming because they want to spend time with you in your home. And I know myself, I've spent many holidays in that kitchen before and actually when people are showing up, because there's always those people that show up a half hour earlier than you told everybody to be there.
Yeah.
And you're still cooking during that time. And it's like, I'll be with you in a few minutes, and sorry, I have a big thing of beans that are cooking in here and stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was always so much better, even when we did barbecues. Jen and I would barbecue in advance, like about an hour before people got there, and
Yeah.
put everything in hot plates and stuff, so everything was staying warm.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
when people came over, you could actually sit
Yeah.
and eat with them and talk to them and not be running around like a chicken without a head having to lay this here, this, that, because you really don't enjoy the holidays and you just stress yourself out a lot.
Yeah.
Now, the last question I have before I go to one of our favorite times of the show here. Um, how do you create an emotional buffer zone? A moment of peace in the middle of all that chaos and hecticness.
I think, it's okay to, sneak, I don't know, go into the bathroom and take, 3 minutes for yourself or whatever, just to let the steam roll off, just to create some distance between you and the chaos. You know, one of the best things we can do when things are chaotic is try and take a moment to clear our head. But when things are chaotic, that's not very easy to do. So obviously I think that, any self-care that we can fit in, even if it's 5 seconds of self-care in the midst of the chaos is extremely important. You know?
Go outside, take a moment, just
Yeah.
step out, even if it's cold outside. Okay. I mean, it's easy
Yeah.
for me to say, just step outside. Okay. But I mean, pop on a jacket, just go outside and just take 5 minutes, unwind,
Yeah.
let it go. Stop thinking about, I got to do this, this, and that. Just
Yeah.
live in the moment for a few minutes. Go back inside after that, and you're going to find you're probably much better off. You're
Yeah.
going to do a lot more. Okay, so as Dr. Davis has a full schedule with patients and visiting his niece every day, I decided to do this little segment that might help you alleviate some of the holiday stress. So if you're listening right now and the holidays are already feeling a little overwhelming, I want you to know you're not alone. I want to take a moment and share some simple, doable things you can try at home. There are ways to decorate, prepare, and even host that can actually lower your stress instead of adding to it. And these aren't big dramatic changes either. They're small shifts that create a sense of calm in the middle of an already loud holiday noise. So let's start with the easiest one, decorating. Because for a lot of people, that's the first wave of pressure. Now, you don't have to turn your home into a winter wonderland. Pick one color palette, maybe silver and blue, or even classic red and gold, and just stick with it. That alone will help you cut down on decision fatigue. You can create a beautiful atmosphere with just a few warm lights, a wreath, or a cozy throw blanket. Your house doesn't have to be the home that they can see from the space station. Just keep that in mind. Here's one of my favorite things. Set up a small, calm corner. It might be a chair by the window or a little side table with a candle. A place that remains uncluttered. When things start to feel really overwhelming, having that spot to pause for a minute can do wonders. Now let's start the second thing. Make holiday meal prep manageable. So we'll talk about cooking, because preparing a big Christmas dinner can send anyone's stress level through the roof. Start by writing everything down ahead of time. That includes your menu, your shopping list, and when each dish needs to be prepared. Give it some time, think it out. What are you serving? What are you serving it on? What kind of utensils do you need? Do you need special spoons or ladles? Writing it down and seeing it on paper Makes it so much easier, and it takes the pressure off your brain to remember everything. Plus, you won't be scrambling at the last minute when you realize you forgot something. And I think we've all been there. And please hear me when I say the next part. You do not need to make everything from scratch. Okay, people, don't shoot me. There really is no sin in buying that apple pie already made. Hey, if you want, even buy it from a bakery. Side dishes can be purchased the day before. People are not coming to test your cooking. Okay, they're coming to enjoy your company. Spend time with loved ones and share the holiday season. My wife and I used to purchase big boxes of fried chicken, rolls, and all these sides for events. This way we could sit and enjoy the company. We could have a great conversation and not be exhausted or even all sweaty from being over the barbecue or in the kitchen for hours. Try it. I bet you're going to be surprised. And okay, if you want to, make sure you throw out all the boxes in the neighbor's trash bin so they'll never find out that you didn't make the pie. Kidding. Remember, pick 1 or 2 dishes you enjoy making, and then build the rest of the meal around the things you can prep early or even buy ready-made. Listen, you're not Wonder Woman or Superman. Regardless of what you think, there are other people that can help you. Let's start. These are a couple of little fun things that I've found in research that are great. Have the kid make name cards for people at the tables. It's fun, and it lets them be creative. It gives them ownership in the meal, too. Think about that. It makes them feel part of the celebration. Hey, you can even have them plate the cookies if you want. Just got to count them before time, make sure they don't eat them all. Now, also, you can turn guests into helpers. Okay, people are coming there because they all want to enjoy the company, and they don't mind doing a little chore every now and then. So assign some jobs to your guests. Okay, Bob, you're in charge of the refreshments. Sally, you're in charge of desserts. Grandma's in charge of the Christmas music, and Grandpa, you collect all the cell phones before dinner. Easy stuff to be done, and it takes that stress off you. Another great tip is time buffers. Plan to start dinner 30 minutes later than you tell yourself it should be. So in other words, if you say, okay, we're going to be eating at 4 o'clock, you're really going to be scheduled to eat at 4:30. That way, if something runs behind, it's okay. No one knows about it but you, and you'll be much less stressed. And give yourself permission also to step away for a few minutes, even if it's just outside for a couple of deep breaths. The cold air, the quiet, even just being outside is grounding. It's a reset button in the middle of a busy day. Now, also let go of perfection. Choose presence instead. And finally, if you take the pressure off of perfection, you're going to make life a lot less stressful. The most meaningful holiday moments often come from things we didn't plan, the laugh we didn't expect, the recipe that turns out quite right, or the quiet moment on the couch when everyone else is busy. Holidays are about connection, not performance. You hear Dr. Davis say over and over on these shows about communication and connection. The get-together should never be an event. It's a loving time for family and friends to get together and share the love of the season. Give yourself the grace to do what you can, not what tradition or social media says you ought to do. Now, I want to add one additional thing. Now, please listen to what I have to say. Regardless of what your religion or beliefs is, the holiday is a time of joy, happiness, peace, love, and laughter. See, not everyone has someone or someplace to go to this Christmas. They may have lost a spouse or a partner. Maybe they're miles and miles away from their family. They may not have any family that even speaks with them. There are so many sad scenarios. Now, I'm asking that each and every family reach down deep in your hearts. Think about someone you may know who probably is going to be alone. Make their day a little special. Invite them to join you. Be thoughtful, but help them get past their embarrassment over not having someplace to go. See, a lot of people are going to refuse to come. Okay? If they don't want to come, make them a plate and drop it off to them. This way they still have a meal to eat. Okay? I'm not asking you to buy them a gift, but that'd be nice if you want to. Maybe even just a handwritten letter, because that doesn't cost anything. Tell them how much you really do appreciate them and how happy you are to know them. And from the bottom of the heart, You wish them love, health, and happiness. You know, we've done way too many shows on depression and suicide. Help us lower those stats. Please, I ask you to show someone else that their lives matter. See, now I hope a few of these ideas help make your holiday season feel lighter, calmer, even more meaningful. Remember the kids. Make sure you include them. Make it a family affair so everyone has a good time. Be present for every beautiful moment. Now, here's an idea of something that Jen and I always did. Set up a video camera or two in the corners of the room and let it film the entire holiday celebration. You don't have to go and carry them, around with you. Someone doesn't have to be filming. Just set them up so that it covers the table and maybe the couch. And later make copies for your family that were there, or maybe even make copies for the family that couldn't attend. If you begin to experience a mental health crisis, as we say this on every show, pick up the phone or text 988 immediately. Someone is waiting, even on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, to help you. Remember, you deserve peace just as much as you give it to others. And remember, your health, your heart, and of course your life matters, especially this time of year. Enjoy the holiday season this year. Don't stress out.
It's the lightning round.
Well, yes, folks, it's that time for the holiday edition of the lightning round. Now, I've let him off easy for the last couple of weeks. Okay, even, I've had guests answer questions and stuff but today we're going to have 20 quick questions for
All
Dr.
right.
Davis. And again, these are short fire answers, short answers and stuff here. So, eggnog or hot cocoa?
Oh, hot cocoa for sure.
Real or artificial tree?
Artificial. I know, I probably got haters.
I
I
don't
think
know.
I
It's
think it's
about a
just easier.
50-50
Artificial.
toss on that. Yeah, I mean, really is. And if you have pets, you definitely don't want a real tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially cats too. But
Yeah.
okay, most stressful part of the holidays, just one word.
Time.
One holiday tradition you secretly don't like.
Um, oh wow. Black Friday probably.
You're
Yeah.
with me on that one. Finish the sentence. Holiday joy is
Family.
your favorite holiday movie to relax to.
Oh, A Christmas Story.
Gift cards, are they thoughtful or lazy?
No, I think that they're thoughtful. That's just my opinion.
A lot of times we used to do that for the kids, and they used to say, well, people say, oh, yeah, that was lazy. No, but you know what? You don't really always know what your grown children want,
Yeah. Yeah,
or what
exactly.
your grandchildren need, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. You're going to go buy a sweater when they really don't want a sweater. They
Yeah.
need to do jeans, okay, really bad. So gift cards, I think, are really find their favorite place and buy a gift card for it. Or if all else fails, good old Wally World. They got everything in there. Okay, the best stress reducer: music, silence, or sleep.
Music.
Yeah, that for me too. That would work too. One phrase people should stop saying during the holidays.
Oh, oh man, I don't know. I wish people would say more nice things during the holidays. I'm not even sure how to answer that.
Yeah, that was tough because I think myself when I'm reading these to you, I think what my answer would be, and I drew a blank on that one
Yeah,
completely. You know, um, you get 30 minutes to yourself during a chaotic holiday week. What are you going
I'm gonna try and clear my head. I'm gonna try to.
to do? What's more stressful, travel delays or family arguments?
Um, I'm gonna say travel delays, and I'm saying that because this is a high five to members of my family. Really, arguments among my family aren't really too stressful because we work stuff out. So I'd say probably the travel delays.
I would say for myself, more of the outside, if people don't have that kind of a family that's
Yeah,
around them. For me, family arguments is more stressful because that can be avoided. and you
Yeah,
can't do anything about travel delays, but you
true.
can do something about family arguments.
Very good point.
Okay, one coping tool everyone should try this season.
So this I can't give a one word answer, but here's what I would say. One of the coolest things that one of my professors taught me, years back was she said, think of all the things you have to do. So I have to do this, I have to get that, I have to go there. She said, and change those to I get to. And what she was
Hmm.
saying was it really shifts the focus. It shifts the narrative or the context around what's going on, where, it's like, man, I have to pay bills. I have to do. It's like, no, you know what? I get to pay bills. What a great problem to have. I get to pay bills. Cool. Yeah, I mean, it really, don't get me wrong. I'm not I'm not gonna backflip
I'm
over
just
my bills.
listening to that's going to be the clip, okay?
Yeah,
Just one of those.
exactly.
Hey, I get to pay bills. Okay.
But
Is,
honestly, doing that, changing the have to get to that's been a big game changer for me, just me personally.
and it really is, even with the stress, and I have to, host family dinner and I have to cook. No, I get the honor of
Yeah.
hosting the family
Yeah, I
dinner.
get to do that.
I
Isn't
get
that
the thrill
cool?
of big feet. Yeah, I mean that's the way I would look at that myself too. Um, what holiday song instantly lifts your mood?
Oh man. I cannot even probably Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
I'm trying to think, what's that Mariah Carey tune that everybody.
All I Want for Christmas is
Yeah,
You.
right. It was something I actually enjoyed it because I know it bothers so many people. That's why I enjoy that. So every time I hear it's like, oh no, go away, go away. Okay. Snow days, are magical or inconvenient?
Magical.
One thing you should personally do to reset your mind in December.
Yeah, try and make sure you're getting enough sleep.
What's more pressure, buying the right gift or hosting the perfect event?
Hosting the perfect event is impossible. So I'd just say buying the right gift.
Which, I'm sorry, I had left one. I was thinking, what's your favorite holiday smell? Was it Uncle
Um,
Charlie? Okay, after dinner, but
Honestly, I think my favorite holiday smell is Christmas cookies.
yeah, yeah. If the stress was a holiday character, who would it be?
If my stress was a holiday character,
Hmm.
um, man, probably I don't know, Frosty the Snowman. I don't
One
know.
simple sentence someone needs to hear right now.
You are enough.
Okay. And the final question, perfect holidays are real or a myth?
Oh, perfect holidays are a myth, but really, really awesome holidays are a reality.
Hmm. And remember, you can make it a reality, just how you go about doing it. And that's what we're helping here. I'm going to ask Dr.
Absolutely.
Davis a few final questions, about five of them here. For people who already live with anxiety, depression, or trauma, what extra steps can they take to prevent the holiday from triggering a flare-up?
I think, really making sure that your stress reduction plan, whatever that is, that you're doing that and utilizing that, and that basically the holidays would be a really good time to ensure that we're being kind of militant about that plan, stress reduction.
What warning signs should someone look for in themselves or even in others that suggest that stress is becoming something more serious?
I think with stress, the biggest I think warning sign a lot of times is like if it's immobilizing. So like if a person is so stressed that they're not doing anything or they're just completely immobilized, that's a pretty big warning sign of problems.
Okay, what reminder would you tell someone, or you wish that everyone would carry with them in this season, especially when they're feeling overwhelmed?
That the holidays are temporary. The holidays, like we're gonna get through the 2025 holiday season, and 2026 will be an all new one. But there is no holiday season that lasts forever.
So if you could replace one holiday expectation with one holiday truth, what would it be?
I think that, it's not about the material things. What it's really about is how we treat other people.
Yeah. And enjoying the time that you spend with
Yeah.
those people too. What does a mentally healthy holiday look like to you?
It would look assertive. And what I mean by that is, a healthy holiday is I'm taking care of me. I'm making sure that, that I'm okay and my needs are met. And I'm also doing everything I can to take care of everybody else, but we can't just focus entirely on one or the other. It has to be assertive. It has to be in the middle. So loving others while also loving ourselves.
It's funny when I asked you that question, in my head, I thought of everybody walking around in a straitjacket.
Yeah.
This flash went into my head for a second there. So the final question I'm going to ask, what one message you'd want everyone listening, especially someone who might be struggling with the stress right now, to take with them after today's episode?
It will be okay. Um, keep hanging on. Things will get better. And the other thing is I would say is, don't hesitate to reach out for help. If you're struggling and you need to talk about it, reach out for some help. There's help all around.
Well, Dr. Davis, thank you for walking us through this, and thank you to all of our valued listeners for being here tonight. We truly hope that this episode resonated with you, and if you found some comfort or connection, we'd love to hear your story. Okay, reach out to us by the website, message us on social media, or just comment on this video.
Yeah.
Okay, we sometimes hear from people on the outside. Ask me on comment. The comments help
We'd
us.
love to hear from you.
Yeah, and plus they really do help us. Tell us what's your holiday stress trigger? What strategy gave you relief? Sharing helps us feel less alone, number one. But number two, your story might help somebody else.
Yeah.
Okay, that's listening to this episode right now. You might have an idea we didn't even talk about tonight. That somebody say, "Wow, hey, John Smith there, they had a really good idea. Yeah, I think I'm going to try that this year." And if you're looking for more support, don't forget you're not alone. Your feelings are valid, and your journey matters. Um, we work really hard on what we do. We're going to be having a very interesting story next week on teen suicide, which I highly recommend. If you have teens that are coming to your event, or if you're a parent with teens, or even one step further, if you're a teen,
Yep.
I highly recommend you watch this episode. Okay, it's not us talking throughout the entire episode. We bring on a very special guest, and we're going to handle a topic that I personally feel, even though the stats aren't higher during the holiday season, I think is something we should be very well aware of, especially in the times that we're living right now. And from all of us at the Your Life Matters show, we wish you peace, love, and a holiday season filled with connection, more connection than stress. So God bless you all, and thank you for listening. Stay safe, be kind to yourself, and always remember, your life matters. See you next
Thanks,
time.
everybody.
Thank you for joining us for this week's new episode of the Your Life Matters Show podcast. Please be sure to join us again next Thursday for another great episode with your hosts, Steve Hodgson and psychotherapist Dr. Eric L. Davis. Please remember to subscribe to our channel if you have not already done so, and hit the like button and leave a comment. Your help with this helps us reach a wider audience that may need our help.